Hello and welcome to Talk Ag to Me, the podcast dedicated to improving ag literacy around the globe. I'm your host, Brandon Black, and in today's episode, we're going to be discussing genetics and how it impacts the agriculture industry, more specifically the dairy and beef side of things. And with me to talk about this topic, I have Kurtis Monteiro from Genex, and he's going to introduce himself today.
Hey, Brendan, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like you said, I'm Kurtis Monteiro with Genex. I am an account manager for this area.
Nice.
What that means is I'm visiting dairies day to day, making sure they're happy with our products, spreading the word on new products and new stuff happening in the industry. I suppose it's something when you get onto the dairy, just anything new the guys want to know about. You know, these guys are on their dairies 24/7. It seems like, and they want to hear something new.
Right. Yeah, they're always looking for the next new thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And genetics, it's a lot of new cutting edge stuff that a lot of guys just think it's hogwash.
Right.
It's future talk.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Gene editing isn't a thing. It isn't possible.
Yeah.
But it very much is. It's happening. It's in the world. It's something we're facing, and it's exciting stuff. It's we've got to remind the dairymen, it's all in hopes to help efficiency on the dairy, to get better, healthier cows, higher producing cows, and it's exciting stuff. So
Definitely. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what exactly Genex is and what you guys do?
Yeah, so the very basic level, we're a stud company.
Okay.
We house our own bulls. We collect semen. We sell semen on them. We sell genetics. We sell elite genetics. Genex is all about ideal commercial cow. We want, like I was just saying, it's high producing cows with lower health events. Just thinking on the commercial level,
right?
Thinking large herds. These herds are getting bigger. More cows, less dairy men.
Yeah.
More cows, bigger dairies. Cross states even. It's kind of fun. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
we have our whole line of bulls, Holsteins and Jerseys. We do dabble in some other breeds as well. And Angus and Limousine and Charlet, that world I'd say I'm not an expert in, but I'm having to be. The beef premium is a real thing right now. Holstein Jersey calves aren't worth nothing.
Right. No, exactly.
So maximizing our profits through beef is one topic. It's easy to have on dairies. Dairymen want to hear about how they can make some money, and a lot of my conversations are around that topic. We have a calculator, calf math, that will calculate, fine-tune their breeding programs. How many replacements do they need? How much beef we can really push into the dairy, as well as a lot of other value-added programs, which is why I come on board.
Gotcha.
Before I get too far down that path, Genex also has a herd care line coming out as well. We have our own calcium boluses, we have our rebound boluses, teat sealants. So we are coming out with the herd care line because we want to come around all 360 health. Right. That's not the best way to put it. We want to come all around the herd and health in any way we can. Not just the semen, but also bring, care about the herd. And,
right.
Products such as that. So,
right.
Like I was saying, I'm an account manager, so I come on with the value added side of things. I do reports. I do a lot of gene edits. I do gene audits on the dairy, kind of see where they're standing. And I do that calf math program because if the dairy wants to start using beef, we got to introduce some strategic breeding programs, and that's when a lot of extra care and a lot of extra eyes need to be on that program. That's where I come in and help out with the dairymen. I do bull selection for dairies as well. So yeah, I'm everything with the reproduction program.
Nice.
Any kind of questions, concerns they have, I hope the dairymen come to me. I strive to be that reproduction expert, and I'm getting there.
Yeah, by the way, guys, we both have colds, so you're going to have to excuse our voices are going to be a little off. Might be coughing from time to time.
There might be some coughs in the podcast, but
that'd be
good.
fun. I can cut out some of those.
I was hoping so.
Yeah.
Do I need to repeat anything?
No, I think you're good. I think that your job is one that I think a lot of our consumers are a little unaware of. There are some aspects of the agriculture industry that people just don't tend to think about as being real things, because there's such a stigma, I guess, for people to grow up thinking that farmers today are just like old McDonald, going out milking their one cow with their pail, and they tend to not think of how big this industry gets and how many hands are involved in all the little things in it, and going so far as to being behind the scenes as to the actual genetic breakdown of building our future cows and that kind of thing. And like you were saying, a lot of old-fashioned dairymen will think that that's just like a thing of the future, that it's not something that we really need to worry about yet. But as well as I do that the future of the ag industry is something that we always need to be worrying about. And I think that your guys' role in that mission is kind of a unique one that people don't tend to think about too much.
Yeah, and it's something you got to kind of tread lightly with. 'Cause as soon as you said genetics, and as soon as you say, we sell genetics, the general consumer is like, wait, hold on. We just had a big fight over GMOs.
Right, exactly.
We know. We're experts in this field. So
right.
it's not that it's not. It's you just got to educate, and you have to explain. We're partnering, mothers and fathers. We're looking for
the best.
We're matching up, those traits and those phenotypes, and we're trying to get those elite bulls, and that's what we're trying to market to these dairies, and just hope that the traits we're picking for are being onto the next generation. So it's tough in a way that it's like the general population is not friendly towards us. It's not that I can't go to LA or San Fran, tell the world what I do, but I gotta remember what I say and how I say it, because in the end game, we want more efficient cows.
Right. Exactly.
That's what it's coming down to. And we can only do that by selecting by selecting the specific traits we're looking for in those animals. And it's just reminding the world that we want to be efficient and help these dairymen out.
Yeah, no, exactly. And people tend to not think through exactly what is going on with what you guys do. They tend to think that it's unnatural, or that it's it's wrong, or that what you're doing is raping cows or whatever. But they tend to ignore that we're doing it in the best interest of the dairy cows themselves, of the dairy industry, of the consumer. We keep all these things in mind as we do this kind of stuff. And when it comes to the issue of genetic modification itself, we will get those same results that we're achieving for, just it'll take many generations of crossbreeding and natural adaptation and all those things. We can just cut the middleman out and just do it now with a lot of the new technologies we've come out with. And people, as much as they don't like that, it's possibly the best thing that we've ever could have done for this side of agriculture.
Yes. I agree with you completely. Right? Don't get me wrong. I do believe it is the best for the industry, and we're just accelerating growth at a crazy rate. But like you were saying, with genetic modifications and stuff like that, it's we can essentially skip a generation with in vitro fertilization. I can't say that even. Embryos and stuff like that, and that's just, I don't think that's come to the commercial side yet. Right. I do think embryo work will get there. I do think there's a purpose for it. But it's just not, it's coming there. It's coming.
Yeah, there's a lot down the pipeline that we're waiting on.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the gains there, just what we hear just the growth we're having in headquarters and with our own bulls that we're housing, and just the genomic traits on those bulls. We're excited to get our hands on them.
Yeah.
So
I know we talked about it a little bit, but have you faced any major backlash from consumers on like a personal level? Like, have you gone and talked to consumers about what you do and they kind of look at you sideways because you talk about how you guys sell genetics?
Well, yes and no. It's always fun when you get on an airplane and you sit down next to somebody and you hope they're not a talker, but they're a talker. So you got to come up with something, and you can't really say you're a semen company because the general population doesn't know what that means. And then there's people who overhear the conversation, but not attacked. It's the ones that, I've never heard of that. I want to know more. That I get more, which is great. Mm-hmm. I've only had those experiences, I'd say, only. So, no, not that I feel attacked, but definitely that where I can say I've educated somebody, and it's not what you think dairy is.
Right.
It's...
Right,
I come in to play with the reproduction programs, and this is how we do it.
Yeah.
So, as much as I have had people where you're just playing God, you're messing with things that should be natural.
Right.
I'll say that. I have had some pressure that way, but... just reminding them that, hey, we're out for the best interest of the dairyman, for the best quality product.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And kind of what's interesting about that is people will talk about how, like you said, it's playing God, it's against nature, it's, all these evil and horrible things that we're doing by, picking and choosing what traits go into our cows. But really, if they're looking at it from the ethical side for the cows, it's helping the cows out too, because whatever calf comes out is going to be the best of the best, and it's going to survive the strongest, and it's going to be the healthiest. And there's so much benefit to what we're doing. And to their point, I can understand why they would think it's unnatural, and there's always things wrong with it. But in a world where we have so much fighting against agriculture, we have to get as smart as we can with producing as much product as we can, and that's one of the things that I think that they don't really think about because they're not in that world. I mean, they tend to just not have the same experiences or the same understanding of how vital this stuff is to the dairymen that deal with it on a daily basis. I mean, that's their livelihood.
Exactly. That's where the strategic breeding comes in. It's the dairies where I get genomic test data on that I can do a mating on that information. It's where I think I see the best improvement, but as well as we're watching out for the animals.
Right.
We know. Not just where, the predecessor is genomically, but we can see, maybe where they're weak at, maybe where they could use some improvement.
Right.
We still do visual matings. We still have some of our sales reps will walk behind herds and visually, see what needs improvement, needs some changing. And we still do matings off that. So calving ease is an actual trait that we don't want... that we choose to get a lower score on, so we don't, mess up the mother.
Right.
There's traits for everything.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So it really is. We're keeping an eye out for the dairyman, and we want, like I've probably said a few times now, we're just trying to make the most efficient cow.
Right. I mean, and at the end of the day, efficiency is such a. I mean, it's everything now because we have less land to work with. We have for having more cows, like you said, we have less dairymen to work with. We're having some labor issues. We're having some, some backlash from the consumer on a lot of the stuff that we're doing. Efficiency is really all we've got left. I mean, we've really
100%. And I gotta think we've either came out with a trait or we are coming out. I think we are coming out. I haven't seen too much on it yet, actually. So I think we are coming out with a feed efficiency trait where the CDCV, I guess, the board that oversees all these genomic traits can actually trace how efficient these animals are from how much feed to how much milk they produce.
Wow.
And yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
I don't know what comes into that calculation, but they're seeing there's some correlations there.
Yeah.
There's even one for robotic milking efficiency.
Huh. That's crazy. I mean,
I should have brought a catalog. I have it in the car. You can just sit there and just kind of go through all the traits and just even I got questions still of what this trait means or how they calculate it. So there is Zoetis health traits where we have a lot of guys want to go dairy wellness profit index. Our ICC has been very good. Higher ICC number means they're more on the commercial side. And net merit is still a popular one.
Yeah.
Can't get away from that one.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think that overall, I mean, just looking at the dairy industry, the beef industry, really pretty much every ag industry at this point that involves with living things, whether it be plants or animals, genetics is such a big thing right now that is like, because we can't get away with a lot of the stuff that we want to do, whether it be pesticide use or whether it be antibiotic use on animals, or whether it be the use of certain types of feeds that can help them grow faster or whatever it may be. There's a lot of restrictions on the stuff we use, so we kind of have to rely on just their biology and use what we can and what we know about it. And that's something that we even look at from the crop side of things and from the livestock side of things and from the it doesn't matter. Looking at finding the things that can grow the fastest, that can produce the most, that can live the longest, that can survive the most amount of hardships, that can whether it be a strawberry that can survive the cold, or a salmon that can grow 10 times its size in half the amount of time, or a cow that can produce 3 times as much milk on half as much feed, or whatever it may be. Really, the genetics of all of it, what is as crazy as it sounds, is probably the fundamental building blocks of having an efficient, productive operation, no matter what. No matter what you come from.
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. You can easily come up on a dairy and assume the traits they're looking for is high milk above 1,500 pounds, fat and protein combined probably above 140. Talking about Holstein,
right?
Jersey's a whole different ballgame,
right?
But, and then from those are the safe assumptions,
right?
And DPR, daughter pregnancy rate, you can assume they all went positive. Then you get your dairymen who are on top of things. Will give you, what, I want my Semantic Cell score, here. Okay. I want my teat placement here. And those guys are great. Those guys are on top of their game and know what they need to correct and know what they're looking for. So, I think I've told you before, I think the management everywhere is fantastic. I think all these dairymen are in the game still for a reason. Right. I do believe the guys who are in it still are very good at what they're doing. It comes down to how good their herds are. Right. How elite, how efficient, how great the herd is. And that's where genetics plays a role.
Right. Yeah. No, it's... And kind of another crazy thing that I've noticed is just like, we learn about genetics in like our, high school biology classes or whatever. And genetics, when we learn about it, it sounds like such a simple concept. A mother has horns and the father doesn't have horns, so the baby has a 50% chance of having horns. I mean, that seems pretty simple. You have your Punnett squares, or you learn about, Gregor Mendel, who, he went throughout his pea pod, garden, all that kind of stuff. Like, there's all these, like, really simple examples we learn about when it comes to genetics. And then you actually get into modern genetic technology, and it's like a whole new level of complicated that, like, It's crazy some of the stuff that they're able to find just through genetic code.
100%. Yeah, I can't even go into it. I don't know if I know enough or if I should know more. There's just so much out there, and
right.
You always hear something different,
right?
And when you heard of the sexing technology that we have, the 88% female ratio, like
right, that's crazy.
That alone is just how?
Like that, like,
how are we doing this?
The idea that we can just tap in before the baby's born and say, you know what, you're gonna be a girl, and then it pops out a girl. It's like, how can you even think of doing that kind of thing? And then
thinking that every company, this technology's out there, we should all have access to it, and we can't even figure it out. There's companies that can't figure it out. That,
right.
There's just a mastermind out there that does this,
right.
and knows it. So,
yeah.
There's a lot of opinions around the sex product.
Right.
We call it our Gen Choice product. People love it, think it was great for the industry. Then we have those people who think it's the worst thing to come to the industry, that we have way too many replacements now, and the Springer market's dead because of it, and so
right.
I don't know where I land.
Yeah.
I think I'm for it. I do believe currently the best program right now is all sexed product and beef product. Use the sex to get your replacements, and then fill in the gaps with your Angus or your limo or whatever beef you have a contract for,
right.
and get your hands on that premium.
Right, exactly.
Which is working. It's working. That premium's out there. They're still getting it. That's a whole other conversation in itself we can go into. But
right. I mean,
6 months from now, 9 months from now, we don't know what that premium's going to be. So
right. Exactly.
And a lot of what I do, I won't see the effects of till that calf hits the ground and that calf enters the milking herd. I don't know.
That's crazy.
If we made the right decision. Right, there's genomic tests, and we can see where those levels are, and we can make assumptions.
Right.
But I won't see my changes or my effect in that herd till that cow enters the milking stream.
It's so crazy.
So what I do is a lot of trust building, requires a lot of trust to have someone you don't particularly know make changes to a program like that.
Right.
That you don't see effects of till down the line. So my guys like to think they trust me enough. They like my ideas and like my changes. So I don't blame them. It really is a personal, protected. I don't want to say it's a trade secret, but it's to that business. It's kind of their bread and butter.
Right.
You gotta get your cows pregnant, and you gotta get the best animals.
Well, it's kind of funny. I was just talking about this with my animal science professor. It's crazy how many people don't understand. They're outside the dairy industry. They don't understand that a cow won't produce milk unless it has a calf.
I know it. No, I know it. And it's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you think it you got to relate to humans.
Right.
Right. Then it makes a connection.
Yeah, like you talk to a woman, why aren't you producing milk? Because you haven't had a baby.
Yeah. Like, what are you thinking? So, it's the same way with cows.
Right. It's the same with all mammals. Mammals have to have a baby to produce milk. That's how their biology works.
Exactly. So it's
like whenever they think that we're raping these cows, like they have to get them pregnant all the time. No, if we don't get them pregnant, they're not going to produce milk.
And that dairy won't have milk.
Right.
That dairy won't have a paycheck.
Right. Yeah, no, it's crazy how people don't understand that.
Yeah, and it's and watching all the levels and benchmarks we have to set for those dairies, we like to see 50% of the herd pregnant before 150 days of milk. It's kind of like our general rule of thumb. And yeah, keeping those numbers in mind when you go to a dairy, and
it's crazy
when you get these guys who want, hey, I don't know what's going on, I think our numbers could be better. What do you think? Got to take a look at their numbers and their dairy comp and try to help them out. Yeah. I'm just like them. I'm walking onto the dairy a lot of times for the first time, and it's just, let's see what's going on.
Right, exactly.
And it's a lot of I'll have some dairies. Hey, you know, our conception rates are just low. What's going on? You know, why is it like this? Usually out of season, right? Numbers are usually lower, but out of season, people get concerned, and a lot of times it's not what they're doing wrong. It's the genetics they've had in the herd. If they've been breeding low DPR, those daughters aren't going to breed back.
Right.
So it's not always just what's in front of you. It's we got to go back and see what these fathers are and what their numbers look like. All back to genetics.
yeah. Everything goes back to genetics.
Yeah. So it's just it's fun. It's like a puzzle. It
sounds interesting.
I'd love to get my hands on the most elite bulls we can, but those bulls only produce so much semen.
Right.
Then we ship nationwide. We're global even.
Right.
So we have a lot of bulls released to the U.S. market, but a lot go international that we can't even touch.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's so crazy.
And just seeing these bulls, I've been to the headquarters and seen the collection ring, and these bulls are just almost like royalty. Who's that? Who's that? And, it's high flow. Like, whoa. I can't even get my hands on his semen.
I've heard stories of that guy.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
It's the cane of him in our tank. I'm like, wow, like this is it. Like, this is a big deal.
Right.
They're just they're royalty. They're bigger. They're like monsters. They're tall.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because showing like in high school when we show cattle. Like I showed beef cattle all 4 years of high school, and when you're in the competitive show arena, you kind of learn some familiar bull names of popular show bulls.
Yeah.
And so whenever somebody gets a steer that's like out of bleeding purple, like, oh no way, you got a bleeding purple steer, and it's like super high dollar, and then so there's I totally understand what you mean. There are some royalty bulls out there. I've never gotten to meet one of the famous show bulls before, but like a lot of them are like they keep them in like this super fancy dancy facility off in Texas somewhere, and nobody gets to see him except for the guy that's collecting
but
him.
He gets pampered,
like
fresh bed, AC all day.
Yeah, those things are not allowed to go outside, else they will die.
Exactly.
And if they die, then you just lost like $1 billion.
And I'm not familiar with the show world. That's one thing I not that it comes back to me, but I'm not familiar with that show world.
Right.
But, like you were saying, the families are just elite, and where those families land and where those families excel at.
Right.
I could tell you, where I don't want to say too many names of bulls, but
well, I mean, like just for an example, there was a heifer that I bought, or not. No, I didn't buy the heifer. Never mind. There's a heifer that my friend bought that the heifer went for I think $3 or $4 grand. Her half sister.
Yep.
Just because that half sister happened to have a different dad than or maybe it was a different mom. I don't remember. But either way, this heifer's relative went for 20 grand in Texas just because it had the bloodlines of some grandsire somewhere along the way.
I know it.
That was just this crazy popular bull back in the day, and so like it's just like this. I had this half sister to this man among boys daughter from over here, and it's like I'll take it for 20 grand.
Exactly.
It's like it's so crazy how people how crazy they get over genetics.
I'll get dairymen who will as soon as they open my catalog up, they'll go straight to the families and they want to know who that grandsire, original grandsire, great grandsire is, and they'll make their selections off that.
Right, it's so crazy.
Yeah, but then you got to keep in mind, just like with us, there's only so many families.
Right, exactly.
So inbreeding is a real concern.
Right.
Which we have programs against that to help, combat that. But they've correlated a specific net merit drop. I mean, I guess point value drop in these traits based on the percentage of inbreeding.
Okay.
They can actually see like milk production loss. DPR loss, SCR loss, based on how close the inbreeding percentages go. And so they can make selections based on how close of an inbreeding correlation. It's so mind-boggling to me.
It's just there's so much.
They can make selections on how close of a breed they want, a mate they want, based on that drop. Is it worth this drop? Do I want to select this bull for this trait? It's going to gain me this many points, but it's this much percentage inbreeding correlation. Is it worth this? It's like, why would you think that? To me, it's like it's inbreeding. Let's kick it out. It's not lose any points.
Right.
But these strategic breeders, they're making these selections because they want to make the biggest jump. They want to make these jumps, and they have to make these accelerations somewhere. I guess is the best way to put it. It's I don't know. That's above my pay grade.
Oh yeah,
that's not where I come in.
There's so much when it comes to the genetic side of stuff that, like, not only is it completely insane, but it's like you almost like you wonder how people, for one, come up with this stuff, and second of all, like with as much of like consumer concern with a lot of that stuff, like with the inbreeding and with like cloning, for example, and like the fear of biodiversity, like you almost wonder how this stuff is getting as far as it is and still remaining successful, because like there's a lot of that kind of science that like they have it down to a T, and then like one day they'll figure out, oh, we don't know as much as we thought about this. There's something else that we didn't factor into there, and then they're like, wait a second.
Yeah, I mean, we're still finding correlations between all these traits, and they're still making adjustments to the calculations they've had years ago.
Right.
I mean, I think they just made a net merit change, I think 2-3 proofs ago.
Yeah.
We're still finding out stuff, and we're still making advancements. But
well, it kind of goes back to what I was talking to you about before we started the episode with these CRISPR cattle.
Yes.
And so, for people in our audience who aren't aware, and, I wouldn't blame you because it's kind of a pretty recent thing, and it's been, I read an article about it on Wired, which is it's a science-based website, and it's been kind of, I wouldn't say, like on the down low, but it just hasn't been talked about a whole lot just because there's very little knowledge about how exactly it works or what exactly it means for the future. But basically, they take these cattle, and how's the best way I can describe this? So when it comes to cattle, just like with many different mammals, they have an X chromosome and a Y chromosome that determine their sex. They an XY is male and an XX is female. And so when looking at their chromosomes, there are certain individual, I'm not sure if it's alleles or if it's individual genes or what exactly is determining the phenotypical expression of certain traits in their cattle. But like, for example, there are certain genes in a particular chromosome that might express color, variation in certain types of cattle. But going back to the article, they were able to find that they could isolate the SRY gene present in XY chromosomes of beef cattle, which the SRY gene is present in all mammals, by the way. Anything that has an XY chromosome is present there, and the SRY gene is what expresses masculinity or masculine traits. So like muscularness, testosterone production, growth, accelerated growth, and kind of just like a larger, bulkier body like shape and size and build. And so they're able to isolate this in beef bulls, and they wanted to isolate this gene and make it express itself in XX chromosome combinations. So whenever they have females, they want the females to express the phenotypic body structure of a male. So basically, when it comes to the beef industry, usually the beef ranchers will value males over females. Females are good for production, sure, they produce more calves, but the males are the ones that are producing the high quality beef that we like to eat. And when you slaughter the female tends to not be able to hold as much high quality beef on it just because of how their biology works. They just can't gain that much weight or that much fat or that much muscle in the same amount of time that a steer can or a bull can. And so if they were able to isolate this SRY gene, make it present in the females would look like the males.
They'll hold their value.
Exactly.
When you bring it to market.
Exactly. And so there's an argument about this right now about whether or not this is a good thing. And it's the reason it's not more controversial than it potentially could be is because it's still in extremely early development. I mean, like, they're barely trying to test this thing, and they haven't even gotten a chance to get a cow to take yet. They can't even get a cow pregnant with these new genes yet. And they're thinking that there's a possibility that they're looking at the gene map all wrong, and it's basically like looking at a map of 16th century America, where there's so much uncharted territory that they have no idea if by turning that SRY gene on in females, they're turning something with fertility off, and it's possibly causing the sperm to terminate before it even reaches the egg, or something going on there. And so, but assuming they're able to get that working, if we had females that looked like males, they could potentially be as productive as males. That could revolutionize the beef industry, but it could bring a whole new slew of problems. It could flood the markets, and then it could have all kinds of ramifications. And my concern with it is we look for a lot of maternal qualities in beef cows to be able to produce calves and not have any calving issues to damage the cow. If a cow looks like a bull, would it still be able to produce calves that same way?
That's what I was going to say. It needs to maintain the fertility, needs to maintain that aspect.
Right. Like, it needs to have like, a strong birthing canal and the hip structure and all the things that make a cow, structurally supportive enough to not only carry but to deliver that calf effectively and safely for both the cow and the calf. If we make the cows that muscular and beefy, would that in part damage their ability to produce calves? I personally think it would.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, would they just have some maternal cows and some beef cows? Would they have, what? It'd be interesting to see where they go with this new technology, but it kind of just shows that there's so much about genetics that we're still learning, and there's so much further that this thing can go. It's just crazy to think about the fact that they're still finding new ways to manipulate genes.
Yeah, and I wish I was a little more of an expert in the beef industry to touch on that more, but me being on the dairy side of things, I think the fertility needs to be there,
right,
to make that effective. Otherwise, you're going to get your bring to beef herd, you're going to get your bulking, your beef herd, and you're going to have your reproductive herd,
right,
for the sake of replacements, and that's kind of all I can see it going.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I know their breeding season's a little different too.
It is. There's definitely some differences between the beef and dairy cattle industries as far as breeding and genetics go. But it'd be interesting to see, just where this thing goes. How far we can go.
I'm going to keep my eyes on that and see what's going on with that.
Yeah. No, I mean,
like you were saying, we're still making discoveries. Yeah. We're still figuring stuff out.
There's so much to learn about when it comes to genetics. So, I mean, on all aspects.
There's so many different strategies too.
Right.
Genex, we choose, commercial cows. We chose the route of maybe not so tall cows, not so much of the stature side. We've chosen shorter, stockier cows, if you will.
Right.
And higher production.
Right.
Higher milk production. So you'll see in our catalogs and down the road, the bulls we're going to be choosing in market are the more higher efficient, more production cows. That's what we've chosen. But other companies have chosen different routes.
Right.
They see stature as king. They see net merit as king, and they'll make their selections based off that. So there's so many different strategies. So many different ways to go about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not just a blanket. Which we got to remember, it's not just a blanket solution for these dairies. It's you really got to get on there and fine tune it and pick those bulls for that dairy.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not a blanket solution, genetics. It's not, let's start picking genomic animals.
Right.
And then we'll just magically, hit these, benchmarks we've been aiming for.
Right. There's so much planning that goes into
it. Planning, it's a management tool.
Right.
It's,
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's more to say.
I think that that's everything that.
You think so?
Those are all the questions I have. I mean, if there's anything else you want to add, anything you have questions about.
I'm sure we're gonna be driving away. I'm like, people want to hear about this. I don't know. I don't think any viewers have any other questions. I hope I didn't go too off topic.
No, I think you're pretty on par. I mean,
send them my email.
Right?
Kmontero, so KMONTEIRO @genex.coop. Any questions, feel free to send them my way. Friendly enough, I guess. My job to answer questions.
And I'll be putting that in the link in the description so you guys can find that easier. And ask Kurtis here any questions you may have. He's been very helpful in all of this.
And I'm not going to pretend like I know everything. This is genetics, keep in mind. So
right, yeah.
I like to think I know somebody.
Right.
There's somebody I know whom will know the answer to it. So,
right, exactly. Yeah. So I think those are all the questions I had.
Didn't touch on
what's that?
Our Holstein and Jersey crossbreed.
Oh,
yeah. Shoot, that's a whole other topic. I don't know if you're going to spend all afternoon here. But I can touch on it briefly.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
In the industry, jerseys are kind of, known as, the higher quality milk.
Right.
Better fat, better protein.
Sure.
Not so high on the milk production.
Sure.
Holsteins are, high on the milk production, low on the components.
Right, the nutritional content.
Yes, exactly. So we're seeing a big move with crossbreeds, the F1 hybrids, Hojos. For a while there, they don't know what to call them, don't know how to treat them. You'll get your extremes, you get your registered purebred Holsteins, you get your purebred Jersey guys, and when you talk about crossbreeds, they get out of here with your hocus pocus. This is fake. This isn't real.
Yeah.
But for the sake of crossbreeding, you're gonna get the best of both worlds. You're gonna get that production, get the components, it's true. We're getting it. We're seeing it. We have one, Marcelo, on our lineup is a Hojo, F1 hybrid. This proof coming up, we're actually getting a crossbreed evaluation. So it was a bit controversial. The bull with the BBR, I can't even bull breed registration, I think. One of those abbreviations are, but whatever the breed is, it's basically what percentage of the breed it is.
Okay.
The company could basically choose how they want that to be evaluated. If they want it to be on the Jersey Index, to be evaluated by the Jersey Index, or on the Holstein. I think the companies have been choosing Jersey because I think it does give it more enticing.
Gotcha.
A bit more. So it's such a big movement that they're dedicating a whole crossbreed index for it.
Wow.
Evaluation. So whereas I have my Holstein catalog and my Jersey catalog, I think one day we're going to get a crossbreed catalog.
That's crazy.
And you'll see these crossbreed herds.
Yeah.
Guys are getting it. It's the milk production of a Holstein and the components of a Jersey. So proofs is tomorrow. We should be getting some information in the market tomorrow, and it's exciting stuff.
That sounds interesting.
It is. It's. I think it's a route Genex is looking into. A lot of we don't have a whole lot of purebreds. I don't think a lot of companies have a lot of purebreds. Right. That's just not what the commercial. If you ask me, I don't want to offend anybody. Right. What the commercial Jersey herd is anymore. I don't think guys are doing it. Right. Guys are purebred Jersey herds, and they're making it still. But I think if you want to get on the commercial level, at some degree, you're going to be crossbreeding. Your herd isn't. It's not going to be all Jersey.
Right.
It's just tough. And like I said, people are doing it. It works for some people. But if I were to own a dairy, I think it'd be a crossbreed dairy. Yeah. It's easy to talk about. It's a whole other thing to maintain.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And you think of strategic breeding programs, that's like the pinnacle of strategic breeding. Right. You got to have your Holstein herd, you got to have your Jersey herd, and you got to essentially crossbreed them to enter into the crossbreed herd and maintain that.
Right.
So that's where the fun comes in.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
That's where the strategy comes in.
Right.
So
yeah, definitely sounds like it.
Something, we probably should touch on that because that is more commercial dairy. That is what these guys are choosing.
Right.
I think for a while their Holstein was the only answer. I think a lot of guys went Holstein.
Right.
I think some guys that hold on to jerseys. Some have switched, but the guys still in it, I think, are leaning more and more towards crossbred.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more on the commercial side of dairy. Can't miss that. That's,
no. definitely sounds.
That's key.
Sounds like a big big contender.
Yes, for sure. And got to give Genex a spotlight. I am account manager for Genex. Genex headquarters are in Shawano, Wisconsin. I am a field rep. I have sales reps in the area as well I work with. I cover Bakersfield to Merced.
Okay.
Just about. I have dairies I visit. Don't know what else is worth touching on.
No, I mean, I think that you covered a good amount of information there. I appreciate it, and
good deal.
I'd be more than happy to have you back on another episode.
I appreciate that, Brendan. I would love to. This would be fun.
Yeah, talk about some more stuff going on. I mean, there's so much to talk about.
In 6 months, we'll have a whole other topic.
Oh,
we'll have a bunch of different stuff to talk about.
There's so much. Yeah, so I think that it'd be interesting to have you back on and talk about some some.
I'd be happy
stuff.
to.
So
awesome.
that's all I have for you. I appreciate you coming out and talking to us about what you do and what's going on in the dairy industry as far as Genex go right now. And so
please, and I can't stress enough, any questions, and if you think it's dumb or not, please, I'm a problem solver.
Definitely. I'll be I'll be reaching out to you some more. I definitely know that some of my audience members will be reaching out as well. So
good deal.
I think that's all I have for you. So
well, thank you, Brendan. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, and for all of you, thank you for listening. And don't forget, if you ate today, thank a farmer.